In the 8th century, the European continent was heavily fractured. Literacy was scarce, and trade routes had withered, and isolated kingdoms squabbled over the deteriorating remnants of the Roman world. Then, a completely foreign military force crossed the narrow stretch of water separating Africa from Europe. They landed right here, at the base of the Rock of Gibraltar. It was the spring of 711, and the Umayyad army had arrived. The Umayyad commanders arrived prepared to govern. They landed with a contingent of planners, legal scholars, and agricultural specialists, intent on planting the seeds of a permanent society in the Iberian soil. The true achievement of these early years lies in how a small group of new arrivals managed to organize, survive, and rapidly unify an unfamiliar, highly hostile landmass. Looking at this map of their expansion, you can see the sheer speed of the conquest. Within a few short years, the forces overcame local resistance, pushing from the southern coastline almost all the way to the Pyrenees Mountains in the north. Holding that vast area together required immediate infrastructure. They established regional governors, minted their own currency, and wove disparate local populations into a single Islamic state known as Al-Andalus. Their explosive initial success was driven by a tightly coordinated leadership structure. They faced massive geographic obstacles, but they tackled them with absolute internal cohesion. 2 centuries later, that cohesion produced the intellectual capital of the medieval world, Córdoba. The city was defined by orderly urban planning and vast public spaces. Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived in a highly structured, peaceful proximity that was incredibly rare for the era. Scholars in Andalusia translated lost Greek philosophy, refined complex surgical techniques, and engineered hydraulic systems to power public baths. The stonework of their courtyards alone required intense mathematical precision. This era proves exactly what happens when immense wealth and diverse populations are managed by rulers who prioritize long-term stability and intellectual growth over immediate personal gain. But by the 11th century, the central authority collapsed. The visionary leaders were replaced by regional governors driven entirely by personal ambition and petty rivalries. This map illustrates a period called the Taifas. The unified empire fractured into 30 small competitive kingdoms. Instead of maintaining borders, these kings spent their treasuries hiring mercenaries to attack immediate neighbors, exhausting their resources fighting each other. But while the Taifa kings focused inward, the Christian kingdoms to the north were doing the exact opposite. They united their forces and began a steady, methodical military campaign southward. By the time the individual emirs recognized the severity of the northern threat, their combined military power was already drained. Their most lethal enemy was their own inability to cooperate. The Andalusian map steadily shrank until only one enclave remained. By the late 15th century, their rule was confined to a single city, Granada. For decades, Granada paid heavy tributes to survive, but a relentless siege eventually strangled the city. In 1492, the final sultan handed over the keys, ending 800 years of continuous rule. The people were exiled or assimilated, leaving behind only their architecture, massive stone palaces and fortresses, as silent records of the civilization that constructed them. The surrender of Granada permanently erased the Andalusian political state from the map of Europe. While the political state vanished, its massive inventory of preserved knowledge spilled across the borders. Thousands of translated Greek texts and original scientific treatises rapidly moved into the eager hands of Northern European scholars. This influx of information provided the academic foundation for the European Renaissance, fueling the very continent that had just dismantled the empire. The story of Andalusia suggests a clear pattern in history. A society capable of withstanding external conquest for hundreds of years only becomes vulnerable when it trades its unified purpose for internal, localized rivalries.